Good afternoon, everyone. This is Natasha Telger with Illinois Worknet, and we'll get started in just a moment. One of the things that we did, I went ahead and enabled it for this webinar, that if you have a microphone on your computer, then you can simply click on the telephone button at the top, and I believe it says connect my audio, and then you'll be able to use the microphone through your computer to ask questions. You can also mute your microphone. If there's a lot of background noise or anything, I might go ahead and just mute it as we go through. But otherwise, you can ask questions as we go through the webinar today. So we have a couple more people that are joining us, so we'll get started in just 1 minute.
Hi, Lola here.
Hi, Lola.
Greetings.
Well, good deal. Okay, well, I guess we're a minute after, so we might have some more people joining us. Um, Again, if you have your microphone on your computer, you can use your microphone to ask any questions, or you can also mute yourself using the telephone icon at the top. You can also ask questions at any time in the chat pod. So either way you would like to participate, that is just fabulous. So with getting started today, again, this is Natasha Telger with Illinois Worknet, and we also have Jeannie Kitchens with us. She's busy typing in the chat. And again, if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask them in the general chat or speak up. Some of the files that we have available, we have this PowerPoint presentation and some other background files. Those are available in the file share pod over on the left-hand side. Just click on the file, and then you can save it to your computer. You're welcome to listen through your computer's speakers. If you have any trouble at any time, for whatever reason, hearing, today we're going to talk about the assessment implementation workgroup background information. And the reason why we're doing this is we've been really fortunate because we've been able to add additional people, which is more minds, more expertise to our assessment implementation workgroup. So those that have joined us a little bit later in the process, this background PowerPoint will will get everybody up to speed on what the original group members were able to hear. So we're going to talk about the direction of the state, direction of Illinois Worknet, and direction of the work group. So whenever we talk about the direction of the state, what we used to give you a visual of what we're trying to do is for building our bridge to employability. We use the trust bridge because it's supported by a network of triangles. Well, it's much like our workforce development system. It's supported by a network of partners and resources that are really all critical to accomplish the goal of creating a career and college and career-ready individual. So we like to use the triangle as our kind of a visual to keep us on task with how all of our network fits together, because there are three components that we're going to be talking about in just a moment, just like the triangle, that are critical to building our bridge to employment. The overall goal for the state is to produce the statewide LPS, excuse me, LPMS, or Learning Performance Management System. And so this is to provide an online information learning repository for resources to help develop college and career-ready individuals. So this will have resources all the way from youth through adults, through work experienced adults, all the way through, and including educators and workforce professionals. And it's going to be aligned with the STEM application. So you can see along the bottom we have our network building of our network of triangles, and you'll see that it's using the 16 career clusters to develop our employability bridge. So each one of our networks, or I'm sorry, each one of our triangles includes some key components: the academic, the industry-wide technical skills, and then the employability skills. And that's what we're going to focus on. But each of these components also consists of a family of resources. We have our national standards, state national standards. Then we'll be developing and including learning tools and assessments. So just so everybody is clear, so for each of these three areas, academic, employability, and industry-wide technical, all of these will, the information that's available now. For example, one of the things that as we were with Illinois Worknet, what we were working on is taking a look at developing a comprehensive skill definition. So what we've taken is various national standards, state standards, and put them together to develop definitions. And this will just, seems like everybody says basically the same thing. It's just compiling it and providing it in a way to be able to crosswalk and connect the different assessments and standards and put them in a way that easily communicate what the foundation skills are, which would be from an entry-level position and higher. But then also, then we have our next level, which is our management skills. Okay. Then for step 2, we have an area where we'd be developing the learning tools. So this will be providing, just a variety of bank of learning tools that either, workforce professionals or educators can use to help bring an individual. We have online reference materials and resources available, and then also being able to provide a feedback system so that you can easily identify resources that are that may be of interest to you and to your customers. And so all of these resources would be based on the third area is to provide assessments. And that's part of what the assessment work group has been working on, because we know that we already have some assessments that can be used and made available. They're already available through Illinois Worknet, so that was one of our starting points. And an example of what an outcome would be is to earn a certificate from a work readiness program. And so the idea is that the work readiness program would be locally endorsed by employers. So we're not talking about putting together and just the same way as the learning tools would be available, but the assessments would be available that you can use as part of a single assessment. Okay, so for the direction of Illinois Worknet. So one of the things that we've been working on lately is when in the area for our standards is, as I mentioned before, taking a look at a variety of national standards and skill standards and putting them together and combining them into what we call a common category area and putting them together to identify the foundation skills and the management skills. As we move forward, we can provide more information on the technical skills because what we're working on at this moment is primarily those skills that are not occupation specific, and as the title would imply, the industry-wide technical skills are specific to career areas. Now, as I mentioned before, one of our starting point areas was really the assessments, because when we're talking about employability skills and the information that's already available within Illinois Worknet and how can Illinois Worknet contribute, this was a real easy fit because we already provide a variety of assessments through Illinois Worknet that an individual can and we're able to offer our customers access to the CIS interest profilers, skills profilers, and so forth. We also have a computer skills self-survey. We have Illinois Worknet activities, worksite evaluation. And as we move forward, we're going to be able to offer also be able to supply unlimited access to the NOCTI 21st Century Skills Assessment. So as I mentioned before, this is part of just having a variety of assessments that are available. You can use other assessments that you already have. It's not to say you have to change what assessments you're using, but these are just some tools that are available through Illinois Worknet, and it's not just one focus your overall system approach that incorporates a variety of assessments to identify whether a person is used or is some um, workflow studies. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Some workflow studies for the workforce investment areas, and took a look at the WIA continuum of services. So it starts out through universal all the way through excellent follow-up. And one of the things that came out of that workflow study was that there was feedback that the LWIAs could really use some common work readiness assessments and align that with a case management. So that's what we're in the process of doing now. Now, all of this is based on from the workflow study, but throughout the process with Illinois Worknet, we always like to get information from our that take place and advisory committees, and all that information together we pull that together, and that's what really shapes the implementation group, is to find out, within this whole process, how can you use the assessments, and what would this look like for your area? Professional Programmatic Committee pulled together, and they took a look at the information and so we put together our that consists of workforce partners and business partners. And so when we contacted our assessment implementation work group, it's a basic in-person, face-to-face meeting back on actually an implementation strategy. So with our first assessment work group, the participants, as I mentioned before, we had 3 areas across the state, the Carbondale, Chicago, and Springfield. And we provided a draft implementation plan or a possible starting point just to kind of see if we were going in the right direction. The assessments in their area. Because again, the idea is not to just certify or endorse one assessment, but overall, you guys do a great job on your overall programs, and so really what we want to do is get local endorsement for your overall program, not just a single assessment. And so as you see here on this slide, we have our 3 areas along the top, our academic, assessments identified. And this isn't, an all-inclusive list, but these are some of the assessments that have been identified. So the idea is that, go ahead and you continue using the assessment that you normally would use, but then one of the areas that you can also incorporate, if you don't already, are incorporating some of the assessments that we already provide through Illinois Worknet and some of the assessments that we'll be adding, such as the observational assessment. I know some people use WorkKeys, and that's great. We'll be offering the NOCTI 21st Century Skills assessment as well. So Again, it's not to say that you have to use it in any particular order. We're just providing you the resources so you design and establish your program for your college and career-ready individuals. And these are tools that are available through Illinois Worknet. Okay. So with the implementation workgroup steps, as I mentioned before, the group got together and they developed the implementation, strategy. And we'll take a look at that. Then the early adopters, they are continuing on working on their implementation plan now. Illinois Worknet is currently working on the technical implementation and offering the assessments through Illinois Worknet. And this would also sync with the IWDS customers, so it would automatically update information within IWDS. We've already been working on compiling the national standards and career cluster definitions, and that way we can pull all that information together, and we understand that with the different assessments, they might have them categorized a little bit differently, but basically the skills are all the same. So what we've done is crosswalk that information so that whenever you have assessment results, we can take you directly to where to find additional resources to help you enhance that skill if you need to work on a particular. Okay. So as I mentioned before, these are some of the resources that we provide through Illinois Worknet or will be providing through Illinois Worknet, and these will be provided with unlimited access to the work readiness assessments. Okay. For those that weren't in one of our initial groups, the implementation plan is basically broken into 4 different sections. The first section is preparation, where you're just defining the product, what we call a product, that you're going to be offering your customers. And your product would be your career and college-ready individual. Then to take a look at the current status and determine what process you want to use and where you need additional training. So, for example, some areas have said, oh, well, it would be great for me to start with my youth because they're already put together, in this group, they're defined, I can go ahead and easily present this information to them. It's a structured group already. Other areas may decide to do something different. It's really, you need to just take a look. We have an implementation guide, and take a look at that implementation guide that was based on the feedback from that initial implementation group on things that they would need to know and things that they would need in order to implement into their area. The next step is what we call a production or quality assurance. So again, just communicating and clearly defining that overall process. So, all the way from universal customer all the way through exit, just defining with your process and where you're going to use the different assessment tools at those different points. And so identifying the tools, identifying the resources that should be used for each step, and then the assessments can help you along the way. And to help them enhance their skills, as well as your areas can put in resources, through local content on tools and opportunities that can be used at the local level to help them enhance their skills. Because we know a lot of you already have workshops, partners that offer classes and different things for these areas that we're talking about, and you can use your local content areas to let your customers know about that as well. And then the marketing and outreach, just clearly defining your message, gathering, some feedback from your your customers, reaching out to customers, using marketing materials, and then the end goal is to get endorsements from your local employers. So again, you're not just endorsing an assessment, you're actually endorsing the overall program. So your academic, technical, employability, at the end of it all, you have a college and career ready person. Okay, with our implementation strategy, it started out, we are going to be working with the we have funded locations, and we have early adopters that were identified during the first implementation work group meeting. And so those early adopters are currently working on their implementation strategy and their process. And then we'll work with them. We'll update that implementation guide as we go along, because that implementation guide is a living document. And so we are open to feedback on how that implementation process is working for each of our early adopters, and most definitely open to updating the implementation guide so that when we move on to our stage 2 adopters, then we'll have a lot of those areas worked out for you, and we'll be able to provide you with additional guidance as well and tips. Okay, so for the April 13th meeting, our implementation group, they were invited to provide feedback. So our first meeting, we collected all the information, put it all together, sent it out for review, and then we invited the partners to come back and provide feedback on that implementation guide. We just want to make sure that we were understanding the guidance that was provided and what they needed. And so they did that. And again, as I mentioned before, the document is a living document. It includes background information, step-by-step information, and then additional resources. So as we move forward and we get into the thick of provide additional updates to that implementation guide. And these two documents, these were available for download. They are drafts, and it's not to say that this is how you would have to do it. This is a sample of how you could integrate using the various assessments into your WIA workflow process. So it includes using the computer skills assessment. It includes using the short Illinois Worknet pre-assessment, the skills interest inventories, the observational assessment, NOCTI assessment, and worksite evaluation, because all the assessments offer a little bit of a different flavor, a little different view, and so forth. So you can also see an overview, the larger document that's available for download. It goes through who's the source of the assessment, where is it coming from. Again, keeping in mind that they're all available. They'll all be available through single sign-on through Illinois Worknet, and also you can take a look at the different categories and compare the different assessments that are available. Some of the areas that we'll be working on updating will be our computer skills assessment. We'll still be offering the career interest assessments. Then, we'll be updating the Illinois Worknet assessment too, so that we make sure that it aligns to those common skill categories that I had mentioned earlier with those skill definitions that were just reviewed. We have we'll be adding the observational assessment, the 21st century skills, and then we have our worksite evaluation, and those will all be available through Illinois Worknet so that the workforce professionals can view those on the workforce professionals pathway. This is just simply the timeline that's available through the implementation guide. And I have it broken down so that you can just see that for this area, we are going through steps 1 through 5. And then on just recently, we had our May 10th webinar. And the May 10th webinar, we took a look at all of the national standards that I've been mentioning that we talked about, and the state standards that have been all compiled to put together skill definitions for the 12 common skill categories. And we had the work group, and so the work group feedback helps determine how we're going to use this information and present it within Illinois Worknet. And it will also help us with when we have the assessments available through Illinois Worknet. As I mentioned, let's say, for example, an instructor completed my observational assessment, and they said, I need to work on my teamwork skills. Then I can click on that link, and it'll take me to the information within Illinois Worknet so I can learn more about that particular topic. And this slide just shows that the various assessments that were reviewed, they're all valid national and state resources. That there's been lots and lots and lots of research already provided and poured into these standards. And so what we just simply did was take that information and compile it and put it in a way that's easy for us to organize and to display within Illinois Worknet. Now this slide covers, this is the wheel. This is how we would organize the information. And we would And so they could say, oh, well, they said I need to work on my teamwork skills. So I could simply click on teamwork. And what it will do, instead of just, putting the information out there and a long list of things that you're supposed to do, the idea is to use the same approach that we use on the computer skills page, which is an icon approach that would pull the person through or guide the person through the information. So their first experience with this would be just a short list of skills and maybe either like a scenario or a self-survey of where are you with these skills? Do you know what to do in this situation? And based on that, then they would move to the next page where they would have a more detailed description of the skills that are required for this area. And then with that, then they would move on to the next steps, which could be anywhere from do you have the skills in the other areas, and so directing them to some of the other skill areas to work on those skills, or even moving up to the management level with, okay, well, these are entry-level foundation skills, but if you want to go to the management level, this is taking it to the next step, the next higher level of skills that you would need to have. So the group reviewed the skills, and they took a look at them to make sure that they were covered sufficiently, and so that information has been pulled together and is available. Right now, the next step for Illinois Worknet is to continue on with technical implementation, and then we'll be developing an employer feedback tool. The early adopters, they are currently, again, looking at the implementation plan, identifying the group where they should start, which group that they should start with, identifying all the tools and resources they would need so that when we come together in July, we can provide a training on not only how to use the information within Illinois Worknet, but any other tips and tools that we've come along with during the whole implementation, early implementation stages. And then so our next step, again, would be, once we get the tools, assessment tools implemented, carrying out, integrating those into the whole WIA continuum of services, that process, marketing yourself, your program, not just the assessments, but yourself, your program, will providing a tool that you can use with employers to collect feedback on, how am I doing, that type of thing. And then, again, within, the idea being is a year from now, you'll have local endorsements and so forth that endorse your overall program. Okay. So do we have any questions? I see Dee said there was no movement toward a statewide program. Well, the idea is that the program, each of your areas
I'll move
has
my microphone over.
a
I guess my
you know
concern
your area
is
better than anybody else.
since
So
we're so
the idea is
close
that
up here in the
your
Northeast
employers know
region,
your
since we're so
area.
close to each
And
other,
so the
if,
assessments
say, we
each
adopt
have
one
their,
process
I
and DuPage
don't know if you want to call it
adopts
cut
another one and
score or
McHenry
passing
adopts another
score or
one,
what's
and the
acceptable.
3 Cook County
So,
organizations all
incorporating
adopt a
that
different
within
one,
your overall
people
program. So what we
commute
want to do is
around here.
provide the
And
tools and
so
the
by
resources
having
that you can incorporate into your programs, because you
similar
already have programs that
representation or
have,
similar programs
workshops.
across the state,
You have
maybe not
partners
necessarily
that
across the state, but
have
maybe across a regional area,
courses. You're
it
already
might be a
using,
little bit
certain
easier
assessments.
for
And
an
again, we wanted to
employer
provide
to
assessments that you could use
commit
for free through
to
Online
accepting
Worknet
a certain
and incorporating those
process.
into your program. So we don't have any I guess, what you call cut scores or passing scores that as a statewide we're dictating you have to do blah, 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 step assessment A, assessment B, assessment C necessarily. You still have choices within those areas. Does that make sense? Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. I mean, especially if you wanted to work together with your local LWIAs too, together, to come up with a strategy, that yes, we're using these all, the similar process throughout throughout our LWIAs. Um, but each of the assessments, they have the validated results, they're validated assessments. So if you chose to adopt an assessment that was, for like I'm just going to use NOCTI as an example. Entry-level work-ready person. So some of the other assessments I guess you could use is that, yes, we've gone through this process of having this person do their interest inventories and basically their homework, the set of activities, their homework to make sure, to help guide them as best as possible to make sure they're suitable for, and they know what they're getting into whenever they select a training program. I mean, that's, I'm not sure, does that help or not? Yes, okay. Like a good question, a good comment too. Does anybody else? Oh, I see Mike has a comment or is typing. I didn't see it come up yet. Okay. And again, I did activate the microphone. So if you happen to have a microphone on your computer, then what you can do is click the telephone icon, and it will say something like connect my audio, and you have the ability to comment through your microphone. I see Mike Williams is typing. I think I see Jeannie over here. She's putting together a polling question for us, so thank you, Jeannie. She'll be putting it out here in just a moment. There it is. Okay, the question is, there's an assumption that customers using these assessments are computer literate and will not require assistance from staff. Well, you do have customers at all different levels, and computer skills is part of workplace skills. So at some point in time, we have to make sure that, as part of being work ready, that you do have some computer skills. So that's a good question, because we do have the computer skills self-survey at the very beginning. And if they're not ready and they're not comfortable with computer skills, then they should probably be directed to resources that they can improve their customer skills, because that is part of a workplace skill that they need to be computer literate, maybe not, expertise level, but they should be able to use a computer. That has been identified by national standards that's a work readiness skill. And understanding, now whenever we talk about these workplace skills, we have had a comment that, these skills are much higher than entry-level position. And whenever you take a look at the definitions, I agree that not everybody is 100% in all the areas at one time. That's why we have assessments that identify what is an appropriate level, what is considered an entry level, what's acceptable, because we understand probably not one single person is going to be 100% in every category at all time. Everybody's human, and everybody has different strengths. So the idea that, but regardless if that is one of your strengths or that is one of your weaknesses, that is a skill that employers have identified that they want and they need to have a competitive workforce. So if it's not one of your strengths, then at least you are aware that is what an employer wants and expects, and you can be proactive and update your skills in that area. Okay. Okay, I see some more people typing in. And I understand, I am running overtime, so if you have to leave, I understand you will not offend me at all. But we'll definitely stay here and answer any questions. Okay. About raising skill levels, not lowering standards. I totally agree. Yep. So a person without computer skills must go on a computer to access skill levels. Well, I mean, it's obviously, if they have no computer skills, then that's going to be a high-touch person. But if you're but if it depends on where the person is at that level. So if they have no computer skills, then obviously they need to go to a workshop or go to a class that will help them with enhancing their computer skills. Now, once they're in that program, that's not to say that a program that offers basic computer skills can't integrate Illinois Worknet into their program, because